Here we are, everybody. How are you? Good evening. Again, I've already said good evening to those people who were kind of waiting in the, what do we call that? Like the lobby? I don't know, basically. For those who watch on the replay, you won't have seen the lobby. It's basically where I put a slide up on the screen. People start joining. We play a bit of music and we welcome everybody. So if you are watching on the replay, welcome to you as well. Thank you so much for watching. The Vault, Fanny says. Maybe we should call it the Vault then, whilst people are waiting in the Vault. Julian is here as well. Good evening. I've said good evening to loads of people who've joined already. Massively appreciate you. If you're watching this on Twitter, you're not in the Periscope app right now. My name is Ross. You might be like, who's this guy? I am an actor from Manchester. I scope twice a week. And I run a website called Act On This, the TV Actors Network. You can find it at www.actonthis.tv. The Periscopes really aren't always to do with acting, okay? They're really more personal development there for people who just really have a higher vision of their life and their career. They want to do more, they want to be more productive, be more motivated, ultimately get shit done, get further in their life and career faster. On a Monday night, we do something called Motivation and Mind Hacks, which is a personal development Periscope on a particular area of life. And on a Wednesday, we do a book club. It's Wednesday, so it's book club, guys. This is the book that we've been looking at for February. And if you've missed the last 3 weeks, you'll have missed quite a bit off the book, but don't worry, because we do a recap every week, and because this is the fourth and final week on this book, we'll do a massive recap, of everything that's gone on the last 3 weeks, a big recap at the end of the whole thing, and what we've learned. The book is all about living in the present, and I know people are like, oh, I know I should live in the present. But to be honest, it's bloody hard, isn't it? It's really difficult, regardless of whether you're an actor or not. The acting industry is hard, but life in general is just pretty difficult sometimes, and it can punch you in the face, and when you're going through a tough time, it's very often difficult to live in the present. You might be right now worrying and regretting something you did yesterday or last week. You might be fearful of something you've got tomorrow or something that's happening 2-3 weeks down the line, and you're struggling to stay present, okay? So you're not fully appreciating and enjoying your life right now because you either regret what you've done or you're fearing what's coming up. Give me some hearts if that's you right now. Or if that's like a recurring theme for you or something that just happens to you regular. Do you struggle to be in the present? I can see the hearts coming through. Give me an example of like something that you're struggling with right now, maybe some kind of battle, some kind of challenge that you're facing that it makes it difficult for you to stay in the present. Let us know if you're happy to share that. Gary, good evening. Gary's here as well. I've got a ginger tea tonight, guys. You have to excuse me. I don't normally kind of like drink on these scopes, but I've got a bloody sore throat. I've got to do voiceover tomorrow for a TV commercial, so I want to make sure that I don't sound like shit. And this might be like an hour, this scope, and I'm going to be reading the book, so I don't want to completely wreck my voice. It's a ginger tea. It's bloody horrible, but I've put some honey in it. It's supposed to be good for you. I won't drink on microphone because I hate the sound of people drinking. Past bad experiences constantly tarnish my present and hold me back, says Fanny. Do you know what, Fanny? So for those who don't know Fanny, she's a regular on these Periscopes, and we have a Facebook group for Act On This as well, guys. If you're an actor, come and join it. www.facebook.com/groups/Act On This TV. It's the most supportive acting community I've ever known. Incredibly proud that all the actors in there literally just promote each other, help each other. Sam, good evening. There's 4,000 of them in that group right now. Fanny's super active, and Fanny, the stuff that you put in there and all the things that you do, that your improvisations, your videos, I know you've just shot your show reel, that kind of stuff. What's up, Sam? It's great. I was watching this dating thing that Fanny's put in there today, like a improvisation. And it's fantastic. Someone's telling me that juice of a lemon is good. I'm going to get some lemon in a bit, I think, for the throat. And if you think you're holding yourself back, Fanny, and you're still producing, all the stuff you're producing, then potentially you could, have a pretty phenomenal presence and career if you got over all that shit that maybe you feel is tarnishing your present. It's something you should definitely look at. For those who really want to kind of this isn't like a big promotion or anything, but want to get their mind right, want to work on their mental game, I do a program just twice a year called Bulletproof Actor, Unstoppable Confidence, Infinite Success, and we deal with loads of this kind of thing where people have had, and I've had some serious stuff happen to them in the past. I'm talking like some of the worst things you could imagine, and they've really been held back in their life and career, and we deal with all this stuff. It's all positive psychology and science-based, so it's science-backed as well in terms of the stuff that we go through kind of works to really help people deal with this. If you are struggling, check out bulletproofactor.com. I'm going to be opening it again in June. I'd kind of love to work with you to help you out with that. And like I say, that isn't some bullshit sales pitch or anything like that. just go and check it out for yourself, and you'll realize, you'll see testimonials on there. This stuff is a massive part of my life, and I care a lot about it. It's not like some kind of gimmicky, oh, come on this course and suddenly you'll be unstoppable. It's much more in depth than that, and much more. It's got a lot more integrity than a lot of the shit you see out there. So tonight, guys, okay, so we get it. People are kind of struggling sometimes to stay in the present. I struggle myself, without a doubt. It's something I have to constantly remind myself of. I think practicing gratitude, kind of focusing on what is right in your life, massively helps. Letting go of things that have happened in the past, looking for the gifts that they've given you as opposed to what they've robbed you of, is massively empowering. And not really worrying about the future too much, because ultimately, I figured out a long time ago that it's absolutely fine to not have it all figured out. And we've done Periscopes on this in the past, to go, listen, guys, right, almost those 10 steps in the future are kind of none of your business, all right? You just need to be focusing on what the next step is. That's all that's important. It's like you're on a pitch black staircase and you're on one step and it lights up just enough to light up the next step. And when you get to that one, it lights up just enough for the next step. You're never going to see all 10, 20 steps ahead of you. So don't worry too much about it. And that's what we're going to look at tonight. I'm going to bring up some slides, guys, to recap for those people who haven't been on the book club for the past few weeks, because we've looked at this book that we're looking at tonight called The Present by Spencer Johnson. We've looked at it. Simon, good evening. We looked at it for 3 weeks now. But I'm going to give a recap for everybody. It's a fable, effectively, this story, but it's got an awful lot of lessons to be learnt from it. I'm just going to bring up the recap for you. So we've done the whole sharing the scope. If you've not shared the scope, though, I would love you to share. We did this in the vault, as Fanny's coined it, or the lobby, or whatever, earlier before the scope started. But if you would love to share it, massively appreciate that. Click the buttons, click share, whack it out on Facebook, whack it out on Twitter. What we're talking about tonight helps everybody, regardless of whether they're an actor or not. This is Spencer. I've shown this slide the last 3 weeks with his famous quote. It says, integrity is telling myself the truth, and honesty is telling the truth to other people. I'm a massive advocate of that. Thank you, Sam, for sharing. It's just popped up to say you've shared. So that's the book there. If you've not got it, I suggest people buy this because it's not expensive. It's a really easy read, but it's very, very powerful. Tonight we're looking at page 66 to 85, literally the end of the book. So if you do watch all of the Periscope replays, the last 3 of these, and they're available on actonthis.tv, just click into the Periscope section. Effectively, you'll just watch me read you the whole book. To be honest, if you don't want to buy it, go and watch the 3 Periscopes and this one, and you'll have read the whole book anyway. So to recap, okay, from last week's book club, the week before actually, and the week before, this is the whole story so far, paraphrased, okay? Now, The Present is a story of a boy and a wise old man. This old man's like a legend, right? He tells the boy about something called the present, which he says to the boy, he'll find it to be the most valuable gift of all, okay? And the old man observes the boy when he's working one day in the garden, fully engaged in cutting the grass. And when the boy asks about the present and how he can get it, he's told that it's so wonderful, it'd make him happier and more successful than anything else he could receive, okay? As the boy grows into his teens, he keeps wondering about how and where he can find the present. And the old man tells him what he already knows. He says, look, you already know where the present is. And he points out how engaged he was when he was cutting the grass, okay? He saw this boy cut the grass, and the boy was like fully engaged in what he was doing, okay? But at the time, when he was a teen, the boy didn't understand, okay? And the old man tells him that the present is a gift that we have to give ourselves. As the boy grows into a young man, he abandons a search for the present, and he begins running into problems at work and in his personal life. And when he's passed over for a promotion at work, he goes to see the old man, who advises him to spend some time in the mountains and to reflect on times when he was most happy. Now, those who remember, I think this was like week 1, at the end of week 1? We left him sat in front of a fireplace in the cabin in the mountains, okay? And he noticed on this fireplace just how well made it is. He thinks it must have been by a craftsman who, was so engaged when he was, creating this fireplace. He was engaged as the boy was when he was cutting the grass. And suddenly, in a rush, it hits him. He realizes that he was living in the present when he was cutting the grass, and the guy who was making a fireplace was living in the present. Okay, and the present means focusing on what is happening right now. Now, flush with his new discovery, he returns to work with his new energy and enthusiasm, and he's all pumped up. And for a time, he prospers, and he's more engaged than ever before. But after a while, a female colleague lets him down by not doing her share of a common task, okay? Don't worry about being a female. It's not sexist. That just happens to be who it was. And his performance suffers as he tries vainly to fill the gap. He tries to make up for the lack of her work himself. His passion and commitment, though, catches the attention of his boss, and he meets a wonderful woman with whom he's developing a great relationship with. Now, unfortunately, because of all of the stuff going on with the woman who's letting him down, not the one within the relationship, he gets attacked by his boss, okay, and he returns to the old man who advises him that there's another element to living in the present. It's not just about focusing on now, it's actually about learning from the past as well. So he returns to work, confronts his colleagues, and resolves the problem, and once again moves happily on with his work. Now, this was last week. He's promoted in his job to a new position, and he does well for a while, until he's overwhelmed, and as a result of attempting too many tasks and wasting time on things that aren't important. Okay, maybe that's you. Maybe you've wasted time on things that aren't important already this week. He consults the old man again, and then he's advised that there is a third element, and this is where we left it last week, to living in the present, and that's planning for the future. So ultimately, we've learned about the three main concepts that are required to fully live in the present. One is just appreciating right now and living in the present. 2 was not worrying and getting caught up in the past. And 3 was actually creating your future via planning. And that's what we're going to look at tonight. We've got 20 pages to read, but it's pretty big text. So don't worry. We're going to get through it. It might take about half an hour. And then we will have finished the fable, and then we'll do a recap on what we've learned. But yeah, so tonight we're looking at ultimately creating your future. Who actively is trying to create their future right now? Like, who's setting goals? Who's really recapping on them, checking in with themselves, planning, making actionable steps? Does anyone here right now know what they've got to do tomorrow? Have you planned what you're going to do tomorrow to create your future? Fanny's saying yes with a capital Y-E-S. But if you're not fully kind of like down with this, then you won't get as far nearly as fast. Sam says hell yeah. Goal setting, and I've done so many periscopes on goal setting, it's just integral for success, guys. Gary says yes if my cold is better. Have you got a cold as well, Gary? I'm feeling it, mate. Seriously, my throat's a little bit bad. It was yesterday as well. Yes, says Nathan. I can't stress how important it is. It transformed my life 4 years ago, guys, when I started really strategically goal setting. And by that, I mean, like, literally checking in on my goals every day. I use something called Evernote. It's a great app you can get for your iPhone. Sam's got a broken shoulder, but he's still all over it, apparently. Evernote's a great app for tracking goals. Workflowy is great for doing lists. If you go to workflowy.com, and that's workflowy.com, it's a free app if you want to create lists so you know what you've got to do tomorrow. I always tell people about creating a punch list the night before. So you would do that tonight. So these are 3 things that are like things that I've got to, have done tomorrow. And there's a whole concept called eating the frog, which is doing the hardest thing first. But we've covered that in loads of other scopes. So I won't go into that tonight. But let's read the book. But just be conscious, of what you are doing right now in your life to create a future. So he says the old man continues. So he's talking to the guy again. Just try to stay active and positive about my injury, says Sam, about his shoulder. Well, get well soon, mate. Yes, as the old man continued, and he says, a lack of imagining, planning, and doing, both at work and in our lives, are the most common reasons we fall short of what we could be. So if you feel you're not fulfilling your potential right now, you probably have a lack of imagining yourself doing things and obviously fulfilling your potential, a lack of planning, and for most people, seriously, of what I see, it's fucking a lack of doing. People talk, and they just do nothing. Oh, this is what I'm going to do. Well, why don't you just show me? That'd be much more effective. So the young man asks, so when do I help create the future then? The old man said, after you first appreciate the present and respect what you have now. And then whenever you want to make the future better than the present. And then whenever you want to make the future better than the present, that's when you create your future. The young man asks, and what have you found is the best way to do that? And the old man says, by answering these questions. So you don't have to type me the answers to these, but just answer them in your head right now as we're doing this and just come up with a couple of answers for each. These are really empowering questions. What is positive about right now and how does it make me feel? So think about that. And if anything's cropping up, put it in the comments and I'll try and catch it. But yeah, what's positive about right now, and it could be literally not $1 million moment, it could be that you are sat at home now with a roof over your head, very comfortable, warm, with a cup of hot chocolate or whatever it is. Just something that's nice, okay? What's positive about right now and how does it make me feel? What would a wonderful future look like? Have a think about that. What are my plans to make it happen? What am I doing today to help it happen? Okay, so I'll say this again. What's positive about right now and how does it make me feel? What would a wonderful future look like? What are my plans to make that happen? And what am I doing today to help it happen? Okay, like I say, shout up if you want to answer any of those. It says, the more clearly you paint a sensible picture of the future you want and believe it is possible, the easier it is to create your plan. Once you have a plan, you can revise it as you gain more information and experience. So it becomes a living plan, which is more flexible, realistic, and achievable. The important thing is to do something each day, even if you think it's a small thing, to help make that wonderful future happen. And then the young man wrote a note. So in this book, there's lots of little notes and pages with just little kind of notes on that are really kind of powerful things. Save money for a show reel, a new updated headshot, says Sam. Sounds good to me, buddy. Absolutely. So the note that he wrote was, beginning today, picture a wonderful life. Picture what a wonderful life, and future would look like. Good evening, Dawn. Make a realistic plan and do things to help it happen. Okay, so beginning today, picture what a wonderful future would look like, make a realistic plan, and do things to make it happen. That last part is like the most important thing. Do things to make it happen. A light shone in the young man's eyes. Those 3 steps are very useful. When I don't do these things, I lose my way. I'm more likely to spend time on things that don't matter and leave less time for the things that really need my attention. Fanny says she books things well in advance, even if you don't have the money, so I'm forced to achieve it. Yeah, that's very true. Show reels, for example, you book it like 2 or 3 months in advance. You know, you pay your deposit, and it's one of those things where if you don't pay the rest, you lose your deposit. That's going to force your ass into gear. Maybe that's something for you, Sam. So he says, yeah, if I don't do that, I'm more likely to spend time on things that don't matter and leave less time for things that really need my attention. I'm beginning to see now that's why I'm feeling so overwhelmed. I don't take time to imagine and plan and then work my plan. The old man suggested you may want to think of the 3 parts of the present as a tripod supporting a valuable camera. Okay, we all work in TV here, guys, or most people do, so this is very relevant. Imagine a tripod supporting a valuable camera, okay? Remove one leg and the tripod topples over, okay? And the 3 things, the 3 legs are be in the present, learn from the past, and help create the future. So if you don't have all 3, okay, so if you're not being in the present, learning from the past, and helping to create your own future, then you're going to topple over, or your plans are at least. It says remove one leg and the tripod topples over, but supported by all 3, it works, and so will your work and your life. However, if you're not in the present, you'll not be aware of what's going on. If you've not learned from the past, you're not ready to create the future. And if you have no plan for the future, you're adrift. I would, but can't really move when I have a broken shoulder. Already have the money for the show reel. Boom. At least you got the money. I have no knowledge of how you live with a broken shoulder, unfortunately. So I can't give you any tips on that. But rest up. Yeah, hopefully it's not too sore. So yeah, when you balance your work and life on a tripod of the present, the past, and the future, you get a much clearer picture, and you can deal better with whatever comes along. Okay, so when you think of that, that's good analogy, that, isn't it? When you think of a tripod as the present, the past, and the future, and you need, to be in control of all 3 in order to be able to kind of stand up. So reflecting on what the old man had told him, the young man returned to work more excited and with more clarity. Each morning, he imagined what he wanted to see happen and planned his day while remaining flexible enough to handle the day's surprises. He set goals for each week and each month. This is massively important. Your goals shouldn't all be like yearly goals or 5-yearly goals. Or I've got my 10-year plan. You should have goals for each week, each month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, and work towards those. It's going to give you much more clarity. I love these podcasts, second one, but learned a lot about and loving the community. Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate you just being here. It's absolutely why I do these. I'm glad they're helping. So well before meetings, he reviewed what he wanted to accomplish. When informed of a deadline, he set up a schedule with a time for specific tasks. He found himself using the same kind of planning in his personal life as well. He entered events on his calendar and planned accordingly. If I didn't have a calendar, I'd be screwed, seriously. And today, because it's digital and you've got it on your phone and it syncs to your computer, and every time you make a change on one device, it's triggered on the other, it's never been easier to run a calendar, guys. If you're not doing that, you're kind of missing out on some efficiency there, I think. By imagining the future and planning for it, he enhanced the present and was better able to motivate others and accomplish more. And he'd never felt happier and more in command of his life. Ultimately, I think when you are planning more, you're in more control, aren't you? Over time, his boss recognised how effective he was and promoted him again. And perhaps most important, the young man had become engaged and had joined his life partner in imagining and planning their future together. So a big mentor of mine is a guy called Michael Hyatt, Hyatt. If you go to michaelhyatt.com, he's very big on planning. And he often does stuff for couples. He does courses where, you will go and you will both plan together. It's important to have your own goals, obviously. But then he runs stuff for spouses as well, where you actually do plan as couples. And that can be super powerful because you've got your own shit going on. But then I find, I'm not in a relationship, but when I have been, you sometimes can feel, if you're literally, you're in tune and you know each other's goals, then I think you can be even more powerful as a team. Which is really cool. Working as a team, says Fanny. Yeah, absolutely. So that's what this guy's doing now. The young man now went to work each day using what he'd learned to be in the present often, learn from the past, and help create the future. It was paying off. He was good at his job, he had the respect of those he worked with, and was confident he could handle most tasks. Then, here we go. One day at work, the young man attended a budget meeting. He knew the company's sales of their current products were falling, the economy had slowed, but he had to admit that some of the competition were offering better products at lower costs. So he was not surprised when the financial people recommended an across-the-board cut in costs. That meant that he and everyone else would probably lose several people and other important resources. Dum, bum, bum. During the meeting, he focused on what was happening. He heard someone say that the bankers had recommended eliminating the expensive research and development area for at least a year. That could save a lot of money quickly. Many of the people at the meeting thought the recommendation made sense. However, one woman spoke up and said that they were not addressing the real problem. She said exactly what the young man had been thinking, and I wonder if you were thinking this as I was reading that. People who are saying, let's cut the R&D, the future, research and development. Is that a good thing from what we're learning? The young man spoke up, said perhaps our real problem is that our current products are not as good as our competitors. If we cut expenses in R&D, we may save money now, but if we don't invest in ourselves and develop good new products for the future, the company itself could be in danger of going out of business in a few years. And this is what happens when people don't react to the market, right? And as actors, guys, listen to this, right? This is important, okay? Because the market is changing. It's really changing. It's changed massively over the last 5 years, okay? There's a lot of stuff going on now. Didn't exist 5-10 years ago. The market is changing. And as actors, you've got to adapt. The actors that have longevity means, yeah, Sam says it means always being kept updated. Yeah, stuff's different in terms of the way today that you distribute your CV, your show reel, you get in touch with casting directors. Everything's changed. When I left drama school in 2005, it was all by post. Okay, now everything is social media, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, distribution of video, YouTube, Vimeo. We did a scope on this last week. You've potentially got 5 billion potential views if you use social media effectively. If you want to rewatch that scope, go to actsonthis.tv and check out the Periscope section. I can't remember exactly what the title of the scope was called, but it wasn't that long ago. It's probably like 3 or 4 scopes ago. Super powerful stuff. And if you are just going to rest on your laurels and not adapt to learn how to self-tape for yourself, learn technology, learn how to cut your own show reel, your own voice reel, ultimately you're kind of going to always be reliant on other people. You have to spend more money, or you're not going to bother and you're just going to fall behind. Other people who are more savvy than you are going to be able to use the market better as it's changing. So you've really got to really keep on top of what's going on. And right now, the differences for me that I'm seeing more than ever are the use of social media. The amount that producers value actors with a social media following is definitely increasing. What happened to just being able to access, Fanny? Unfortunately, around about 150,000 people decided they all wanted to do it at the same time. Thus, the amount of jobs in the UK suddenly went, well, we don't have 150,000 jobs for actors. So you're all going to have to do something special if you want to get one of these jobs. So now, unfortunately, being able to act just ain't enough. Just not enough. You've got to be able to do that and also market yourself. Network, meet people, add value to people's lives so they want to be around you, invite you in for jobs. You've got to be working and hustling like a lot, okay? Not 24/7. You've got to sleep. It's important, but you've got to work harder than ever to make it today. So we're talking about his R&D, guys, okay? He says his comments stimulated a strong discussion amongst the group. Later in the week, with the support of his boss, the young man collected a report on what customers wanted from their new products. As he began to describe possible new products, he painted a picture of what his company's wonderful future might look like. See what he's doing here? He's using all this stuff. Over the next few months, several people began to use their imaginations and took actions needed to develop the products that customers wanted. While not all of the new products lived up to expectations, one became a huge success. That's the same for you guys in your strategies. If there's 10 ways to do something and get a casting director's attention, it doesn't matter if 9 fail. One will work if you do them all and you take enough action. While not all of the products, lived up to the expectations, one became a huge success, and the company began to flourish again. The young man was grateful he had learned to help create the future because both he and his organisation benefited from it. Over the years, the young man grew into a man. Okay? He stayed in touch with the old man, who liked knowing that the man was happier and more effective and successful. The man was enjoying both his work and his personal life. However, one day, the inevitable happened. Oh, this is sad. Give me some hearts for this, because this is sad. The old man died. Okay? His wise voice could no longer be heard. The man was stunned. He didn't know how to respond to this. Seeing the hearts come through for the old man, bless him. Rest in peace. The funeral that followed was attended by some of the city's leading men and women, as well as by boys and girls from the clubs the old man had sponsored. Remember, I've said this before, guys. Quit fucking worrying about money and how much money you're going to make and how much this, how much fame you're going to make and how much this. Start acting in life about the real thing that's important is how many people are going to show up to your funeral. Because if you keep that front and center of your mind in terms of the actions you are taking, then the money's going to come anyway because you're going to be impacting people super, super positively. Don't chase the paper. Chase having the impact so you get as many people as possible to show up at your funeral and your life will change overnight. So many rose to tell extraordinary stories about the old man. It seemed he'd helped many people. As the man sat and listened, he realised how really extraordinary the old man was. He'd made such a difference in so many people's lives. Miss C. Bennett says, blimey. Honestly, I'm telling you. What's your first name, Miss C. Bennett? Let us know who you are. It's massive. It's absolutely massive when you operate from that kind of place. So as the man sat and listened, he realised how extraordinary this old man was. He'd made such a difference in so many people's lives. The man wondered, what could I do? Caroline, I sent you my Vimeo. Awesome, Caroline. Have I replied and checked it out? If I haven't, I will do. I can't remember. I get so many emails, but hopefully I've replied. If I haven't, I definitely will. What could I do to be more like the old man? Oh, the Welsh girl on the loo. Yes, it was great. I saw it. Very good video. So what could I do to be more like the old man and help others? Good. Pretty Gavin and Stacey. I liked it. Very good. Okay, so what could you do to help others, peeps? Okay, have a think a little bit about that. Fanny says brilliant as well. She must have seen it as well. Searching for answers, the man went back to the neighbourhood where he'd spent so many moments as a boy. So remember right back where he was cutting the grass in his neighbourhood as a kid. Years before, his parents had moved away, and the only times he had returned had been to visit the old man. The old man's house was empty now. A for sale sign planted in the lawn, he eyed the front porch swing where the old man had enjoyed spending his evenings. He walked up to the porch and sat down gingerly on the swing, afraid the old chains might snap. As he settled back against the worn wooden slats, the only sound he could hear was the cracking of the swing. He thought over all that he had learned from the old man. He knew he had discovered how to enjoy the present. He was now able to stay in the present more often, focusing on what was right now and paying attention to what was important today. And he found it extraordinarily helpful. Whenever he concentrated fully on what he was doing, he was happier and he was certainly more effective and successful. He used what he'd learned from the past to improve the present. He'd not repeated as many mistakes. He discovered that helping to create the future in a positive way could often make the future better. But he still felt that he needed to put it all into perspective, especially now that he no longer had the old man to rely on. The man closed his eyes and gently swung back and forth on the swing, focusing only on the present, and he felt peaceful. Gradually, he began to sense the presence of the old man. It was as if the old man was sitting next to him on the porch. He could almost hear the old man's voice replaying their many conversations. Once again, he experienced the wisdom of the old man's words and felt the warmth of the old man's compassion. He wondered why the old man had spent so much time helping him and others to learn about the present. The old man had many demands on his time. Why had he chosen to spend it on sharing the present with others, rather than on more self-serving pursuits? The man continued swinging back and forth, eyes closed, now focusing his energy only on this question. Slowly, gradually, the answer began to emerge. The old man did these things because he had a purpose that extended beyond self-gain. His purpose, his reasons for getting up in the morning, was to help as many people as possible become happier and more effective and successful at work and in their lives. Yes, says Caroline. Super important this, guys, as well. And also I did a whole rant on this last week, unfortunately. Just be careful of how many people are bullshitting their purpose. They'll tell you that's it. But then they'll be like, okay, yeah, my purpose is to help people, but it's only for £20 an hour on Skype. Well, you can fuck off because your purpose clearly isn't to help people. Give them your email address and do it for free if that's your purpose. Just a little personal bugbear of mine. But it is great when you meet people with that purpose. So whether it was sharing what he knew about the present, leading a company meeting, or spending leisure time with his family and friends, the old man worked and lived with purpose. And it was this sense of purpose that tied the present, past, and future together and gave his work and life greater meaning. The man opened his eyes. This was it. This was the thread that pulled it all together. The present is the gift that gives your work life and meaning. The man reached for his notepad and he wrote this. You might want to write this down. Living in the present and learning from the past and helping to create the future is not all there is. It's only when you work and live with purpose and respond to what's important about the present, past, and future that it all has meaning. So I'll say that again. Living in the present and learning from the past and helping to create the future is not all there is. It's only when you work and live with purpose and respond to what's important about the present, past, and future that it all has meaning. The man stopped and looked at the words he'd just written. He thought about what they meant. He understood that having a purpose means not just knowing what to do, but why. Working and living with purpose is not some grand scheme or life plan. It's a practical approach for everyday life. It means rising each day and seeing what meaning it will hold for you and others as a result of your actions. And then he realised, it's another one of these pages, another one of these little quotey things. How you respond depends upon your purpose. I'll talk about this in a minute as well myself. When you want to be happier and more effective, it's time to be in the present moment. When you want the present to be better than the past, it's time to learn from the past. When you want the future to be better than the present, it's time to help create the future. And when you live and work with purpose and respond to what's important today, you are more able to lead, manage, support, befriend, and love. Okay, so I know there's a lot to take on there. I'll just read that slowly there. So how you respond depends on your purpose. So right now, do you have a purpose? Do you know what your purpose in life is? Okay, because how you respond to everything in your life will depend on what your purpose is. So when you want to be happier, if you're down right now, okay, and you want to be happier and more effective, then it's time to live in the present moment, okay? So if you're not happy right now, you're probably not living in the present moment. And by the present, I mean the very second, like literally now, watching this, having a drink, whatever you're doing whilst you're watching this. Okay, so if you're not happy, you're probably not in the present right now. You're probably gutted or regretting something that happened earlier today, or you're fearful of something tomorrow. So we need to come back to the present moment, okay? I know my purpose, but my actions are always full of anger, says Fanny. Well, we need to deal with that. I'm like a dead cat on the couch, says Caroline. Well, that's hopefully you're relaxing and not actually dead on the couch. So yeah, so we've got to come back to the present, guys, okay? So that's when you want to be happier, you've got to come back to the present. That's the gist of this, is one of the main things. Now, when you want the present to be better than the past, okay, so you come back to the present, and when you want it to be better than the past, then it's time to learn from the past, okay? You've got to learn from what happened there. And when you want the future to be better than the present time, then it's time to help create the future. And that's all about the plan, okay? And then the purpose lives on top of that as well, okay? So when you live and work with purpose around all of that, and respond to what's important today, not what was important yesterday or 10 years ago, you're more able to lead, manage, support, and befriend other people and love yourself and other people as well. Don't worry, we're going to do a huge recap on this with some slides in a minute so you all get it. I don't want people to feel lost. So the man now realised he needed to create his future without his trusted mentor to guide him. So he's got to do this now without the old man. The man wondered if he knew enough, and we all wonder that. Every time you go into something new, guys, you're going to have imposter syndrome, whether it's being an actor or you're leaving a different career and starting the new one, or you're going to a new relationship. You're always going to feel a little bit like an imposter to begin with, okay, and that's totally natural. The man smiled, and he knew what the old man would say. He says, the man knew enough. He had enough. He was enough today, and that's a message to all of you. Some people choose to receive the present when they are young, others when they are in middle age, some when they are very old, and some people never do. Okay, so you've got to kind of accept the present like now, guys, at whatever age you are. It's never too late as long as you're prepared to accept it. As the man swung on the swing, he chose to return the present. He had found his purpose. He would share with others what he'd discovered. He felt happy and successful. So his purpose now is to share what he'd learnt from the old man. Reflecting on what success was, he knew it meant various things to different people. Success might be having a more peaceful life, doing a better job, enjoying more quality time with the family and friends, getting a promotion, being more physically fit, making more money, or simply being a better person who helps others. So success is different for everyone. Trust me, it's not about money. If you ever measure your success on money and how much you have, you will never, ever be happy, because I promise you, no matter how rich you are, there will always be somebody else with more money than you. If you could get to Steve Jobs status or Bill Gates status, there's still going to be somebody else with more money than you. So if you're measuring your self-worth on what you've got in your bank, then you're really up shit creek. You're kind of doomed there, guys. True that, says Caroline. So with that, the old man had taught him, with what the old man had taught him, and what he discovered through his own experience, he realised being more successful means becoming more of who you are capable of being. And this is it, guys. This is the key. It's not an end game of like, are we successful when? Okay, it's a continuous thing. As long as you are becoming more every day of who you are capable of being, then you're successful. You're winning. Each of us defines for ourselves what it means to be successful. Don't let anyone else define it for you. You define that, okay? And as long as you are becoming more of that every day, you're winning. So the man realized that he'd learned to use the tools that can make anyone's work and life better each day. In that definition, I'm successful, says Fanny. Thank God. Crikey. It's only taken 8 months for you to admit that, Fanny. Good for you. You are successful. It was so simple, okay? The present nourished him, aided by the lessons he had learned from the past and the goals he had for the future. And by responding in the present, he became more effective and successful. He focused on what was important now. He was able to see and deal with opportunities and challenges as they came along. And he was able to appreciate his colleagues, family, and friends. He also realised that because he was only human, remember, he'd not always be able to stay in the present. He might lose his way from time to time. Surprise, surprise. But when that happened, he reminded himself he could return to the present whenever he wanted to be happier and more effective. And you guys can. Every single time. You can choose to return to the present if you want to. And any time that you don't do that, it's you who is stopping yourself from doing that, all right? No one else is to blame, all right? The present would always be there for him. He could give himself the gift whenever he chose, all right? You give yourself the gift like now. The man decided to write down a summary of what he'd learned, and I'm going to throw this up on the screen for you now. He could keep it before him on his desk, where he could be reminded of it daily. And if you're watching this on the replay, even if you're watching this live, tomorrow I'm going to upload this as a PDF document, guys, that you can download from the replay on actonthis.tv. So if you're watching this on YouTube right now, look in the description underneath and you can see a link to the very blog post, and you'll see a little link on the blog post underneath the video that says download the PDF slides that we used in this presentation. So you can print this out and put it on your desk. And unfortunately, because I get a bit salty sometimes in terms of passionate, I've sworn. So maybe you won't want to print this off and put it on your desk at work. But these are three fucking important things to remember that we've learned from this book this month, guys, right? And these are the takeaways. If you've never seen this scope before, this is really what we've been learning about for 4 hours over the last month, okay? We've done 4 scopes, an hour each. Tonight's the 4th one. Be in the present when you want to be happier and more effective, okay? And you do that by focusing on what is right now and responding to what is important today, okay? So when you want to be happier, who wants to be happier? Give me some hearts, or just give me some yeses in the comments if you're actually on the Periscope app now. Who wants to be happier? I do. I'll say yes, but I can't comment. Defo not, says Fanny. Fanny, you definitely do. I try, but I'm surrounded by arseholes. Well, you are the average, Caroline, the 5 people you surround yourself with, and that's in every single way, in happiness, in earnings, in potential, in physicality generally. You don't have to ditch them. Fanny's saying ditch them. You don't have to, Caroline. What you have to do is raise your standards, and that's it. When you raise your standards, you start demanding more from yourself and your life, you'll have more success, and what happens then? The people who are arseholes don't like to be surrounded by people who are having more success than them. So they just eject from the situation. You never have to cut unsuccessful people or arseholes out of your life if you don't want to. Sometimes you might be stuck with them because sometimes they've grown up with you, they live next door to you or whatever. You just have to raise your own standards and they'll eject themselves. You can't ditch family, no. So that's the case. So what you do is you just raise your own standards and you demand more from yourself, and you start living the life that you want to live for you, not the life you think other people want you to live. Family can play a big part in that sometimes. It's also, when you start living a better life, hopefully you can inspire those arseholes to live a better life, and then they become happier and less arseholes. But right now, when you want to be happier and more effective, tomorrow, guys, if you have a shit day or you're like, oh God, this day's not going very well, and you're like, I want to be happier and I want to be more effective today, all you've got to do is come back to the present. You've got to focus on what is right now. So Caroline, you said you're surrounded by arseholes. Just give me something. Give me one thing that's right now. Literally now in your life. One thing that's right. You said you sprawled out like a cat on the sofa. What are you grateful for right now in your life? Anything. One thing. Doesn't have to be massive. Just what are you grateful for in this moment right now as we are live on this Periscope? Write it for me. Tell me what it is. Sam says, I've got a roof over my head. It's something massively, massively to be appreciative of, Sam. Fanny's saying, you've got a sofa. Wow, there you go. Fanny probably wants a sofa. My dog, says Caroline, yeah, dogs are incredible. I love dogs. God, the love of a dog, is so unconditional. That's something to be massively grateful for. You don't get that from many human beings a lot of the time. So yeah, that's something that's right in your life right now. Focus on that, okay? And then respond to what is important today. Don't respond to all that crap that happened last week that was upsetting you, or last year, or for some people, it might be 15 or 20 years ago. Let's not focus on that. Let's come back to the present and focus on what is right now, okay? That's the first thing, okay? So this is the first, number 1 of the 3 effing important things to remember about this book. Be in the present when you want to be happier and more effective. Number 2, learn from the past when you want to make the present better than the past. So the only way you're going to make the present better than the past is by learning from what happened in the past. Okay, you've got to look at what happened in the past, learn something valuable from it, and do things differently today. Now, the thing that I would suggest everybody does about an obstacle in the past that they're still struggling to get over with today is let's relabel it. It might sound mental to some people because you might have had something horrific happen to you, but I've done this with people who have experienced things in the past that are really horrific. I mean, the worst of the worst type of things, guys, and it still has worked with them, but you've got to be committed to it. A few people are saying, well, Fanny's saying that the sound is dodgy. Might be your connection, Fanny. Just X out. I'm gonna turn my sound up for a sec. Yeah, the sound's all right on mine. I can actually watch me in real time on Periscope app. The sound's all right for me. So just X out and come back in. It might just be your connection to Periscope server. It's fine at Sam's end, he says. It's fine at my end as well. So Fanny's jumped out and she's come back in, I can see. Hopefully it's better, Fanny. So yeah, what you should do, guys, is let's relabel that shit thing that happened to you in the past. Let's not label it as a tragedy. Let's label that as a gift. And you might say, how on earth, this thing that happened to me that was so horrific, how can I label that as a gift? Well, what is the alternative? You continue to label it a tragedy and you never get over it. Look for the gifts that were in that thing that was shit. So for me, I'm losing my eyesight, guys. I talk about this quite a lot, right? I've got an eye condition that's degenerative and it robs you slowly of your eyesight, okay? Something I don't ever take for granted. My eyesight's kind of deteriorated over the years and it will continue to do that. I can label it as a tragedy if I want, or I can go, well, that's a gift. Why is it a gift? Well, you know what? It's a gift because it makes me get up every single day and it motivates the shit out of me to do what I have to do today whilst I can, to see the things that are so amazing in this world today whilst I can, because the day might come where I can't, okay? My mum's blind because of this. It could quite easily end up that way for me, okay? Equally, if I don't live in the present, as in what I can enjoy now, and I fear that future of a time where I have no eyesight, what happens if in 20 years' time, when that time might come around, that a doctor goes, you know what, we've figured this out and we can fix it. And I go, shit, I have just wasted 20 years of my life fearing a future that never, ever came true. So that's about living in the present. Stay in the present, you know. Equally, other things that I would used to class as tragedies in my life. My dad died at 24. He just when I was 24, he had a heart attack. Bang, gone. I could label that as a tragedy and never get over it, never live with it or absorb it. I'm not saying you get over a death of a family member, but you can certainly absorb it and be empowered by it. I can label that as a gift and go, well, what did I learn from that? Well, you know what? It was such a gift. I spent 24 years with this great guy. You know, as opposed to focusing on what it robbed me of, I could go, oh, well, it robbed me of potentially 35 extra years with him. Well, no, you know what? Look at it as a gift. You could have had, like, my dad's dad died when he was 4. I got an extra 20 years out of that than he got. It's a fucking gift. So we need to start labeling the things in the past that we currently label as tragedies and relabel them as gifts, guys. It's so empowering. And you will own the shit out of that situation. It will no longer own you. Caroline says, I admire your inspiration and motivation. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Julie, as well. Yeah, it's just stuff, you know, it's just honest, real talk, guys. That's all it is. I'm not saying it to go, oh, look, I'm a martyr. All the stuff that I talk about on these Periscopes, you know, I'm not saying I'm the guru, do this, and I'm amazing. I'm just basically sharing what I do in my life to live a better life. And I feel it is my purpose, like we've said, to spread this message and, you know, and help other people. Not for money. You don't have to pay me. That's why I'm here on a Wednesday night at 10 to 10, you know, doing this, because that is, I think, my purpose, and I bloody love it. But what I said before about people bullshitting their purpose, I did a whole Periscope on last week, and there are people in life and in this acting industry that will bullshit you their purpose, and they dress up their purpose as something it isn't, just to basically get you to part with money. Be aware. So that was the second point, guys. Learn from the past when you want to make the present better than the past, all right? And the next and last thing is help create the future. We talked about it tonight. Help create the future when you want to make the future better than the present, okay? So first you live in the present, you make the present better than the past by learning from the past, and then you make the present better by creating the future, okay? When you want to make the future better than the present, okay? So you've got to imagine what a wonderful future would look like for you. You've got to make a realistic plan, and then you've got to do something today to make it happen. Monday and Wednesday to the Periscopes, guys. Yeah, people are asking when they are. So Periscope, I do a Monday and a Wednesday Periscope at 9 p.m. UK time. If you subscribe to this channel, you'll always get access to it, and you'll get a notification every time I go live. But I sometimes do random ones as well. When I'm on a job or in a voiceover or I'm somewhere on a set somewhere, I'll just do a random one and just go, hey, look, check this out, if I think it's valuable to people watching. So they are the three things that are there, okay? Just to recap, be in the present when you want to be happier and more effective, learn from the past when you want to make the present better than the past, and help create the future when you want to make the future better than the present. Okay, so just give me one thing now, if you don't mind sharing, of what a wonderful future would look like for you, and then what one thing you can do today, or it's a bit late in the UK here, but what one thing could you do tomorrow to work towards that future that you're imagining for yourself that is so wonderful? Because that's when you start making things happen, because you literally can write that down tonight, and that's the thing that you've got to work on tomorrow. So when you wake up, you're not like, oh, what do I do today? I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I've got no direction. You're going to know what it is. Hollywood red carpet for Fanny, and to get an agent. So what you're going to do, what's the one action step you're going to take tomorrow, Fanny, to get an agent, okay? I'm not saying you're going to get an agent in a day, but what's the one thing you can do towards that that's going to make you feel like you're progressing? Because we feel great when we are making progress. Write an email, okay? Who are you going to write your email to? Let's get super specific of this. It's the name of a great book too. What was that, Caroline? What's the name of the book? Write it down, make it happen. Yeah, maybe I should publish it. So let's have a look. I'm going to come back on camera now. What's the one thing that's super specific? Who can you write to, Fanny? Who are you going to write to? You said an agent. I missed a few comments, and I'm sorry if I just missed what you said. It is a book. Oh, it actually is a book. Write it down and make it happen. Is that actually a book? Oh, I can't write it then, Caroline. It's already been bloody done. But yeah, give me one thing you're all going to do, guys, tomorrow to make the future happen for you, whatever that is. I think it's important that you've got something that you can do tomorrow. So Sam wants to be able to pay the rent as an actor. So as in what, Sam? Just exclusively earn all of your money from acting. Yeah, it's great. It took me 10 years to get to that point, but it happened probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And it's great. It's a really empowering, exhilarating feeling when you're like, you know what? I don't have to work. I had to work in retail, Sam, for 11 years. I worked in the shittest shop going. Write to Amy Hubbard and tell her how fabulous I am, says Caroline. Yeah, I mean, it's something that's specific and something that you can do. You can absolutely do that. Definitely. You can, if it's Amy you're targeting as well, once you've written your email, reach out on Twitter and say, hey, Amy, just to let you know, I know you're busy. Drop you an email. Really appreciate it if you get 2 seconds to look at it. No rush. I've done retail, says Sam. Yeah, it's pretty shit at it, Sam. Did it for 11 years. Fanny wrote to Nikki Toppin today. Excellent. Good work. See, so you're all doing specific things, which is nice. Okay, so you do have a line that you're taking. I'm just going to read you guys the last. We've got like literally 2 pages of this left about what happened to the guy. Okay, so he's learned the things in the book that we've just talked about, and let's just do the last couple of pages. So he says, in the years that followed, the man used what he'd learned over and over and over again. I emailed United agents yesterday, so Sam, fair play, man. He found he was not always able to stay in the present, okay? By using the present to make himself happier and more successful today, it became more and more part of his life, though. So you're never, ever going to be able to stay in the present like 100% of the time, guys. It's unrealistic. The man made adjustments along the way, though. I've got an audition for a film next week, says Steve. Excellent. So he made adjustments along the way, depending on the situation that he faced, and he became better and better at what he did, and that's what we're all aiming for. We just become better and better at what we do. He received many worthy promotions, and eventually he became the head of his company, a man respected and admired by those who knew him. So he'd gone all the way from like this lowly guy coming at the bottom, and he now is head of the company, guys. It's going to be you in a few years. Being with him made the people around him feel more alive. In his presence, they felt better about themselves. It's a beautiful gift to give people. He seemed to listen better than most people, to anticipate and solve problems and see solutions before anyone else. In his personal life, he'd created a loving family. His wife and children cared about him as much as he cared for them. In so many ways, he'd become more like the old man he so admired. The man enjoyed sharing what he discovered about the present with other people. He knew that many people appreciated the story and learned from it, while others did not. He realized, of course, that it was up to them. So like we said before, the present is a gift you give yourself. Some people will never allow it into their lives because they're too fucking hung up on the past or worried about the future. Give it yourself. One morning, a group of new employees gathered in the man's office. He had a tradition of greeting all new employees personally. A young woman noticed the framed card entitled The Present and said, "May I ask why you keep that on your desk?" "Certainly," he responded. "What's on the card is the summary of an inspiring and practical story I heard from an amazing man. It's about how to enjoy your work and life. It helps you become happier and more effective and successful today in the broadest sense of those words. When you use it best, it helps you realize your purpose. I find it's a great help to me, so I keep it near me to remind me to do what works so well." Several people in the group looked over at the card. "May I see it?" the young woman asked. "Of course." The man handed her the framed card. The young woman read it slowly and then passed it to others. This is the last part of the book. After she read the card, the young woman said, "This seems like it could be very helpful in a situation I'm dealing with right now." When the framed card was handed back to the man, she said, "Can we hear the story?" The group gathered at the conference table to hear the story. Later, they had a spirited discussion about how they could use the present in their work and lives. Before they left, they each got a copy of the card. Over the next few months, the man noticed that some of the new employees seemed to embrace the present. Those who did thrived. Others were skeptical or simply put it aside. Sometime later, the young woman who asked about the present re-entered his office. She'd taken on more responsibility and seemed to excel at her job. "I just want to thank you for the story of the present," she said. "I keep my own card near me and refer to it often. It's invaluable." Then she left the man's office. Over time, the woman shared the story with family, friends, and business colleagues. Many of the people who heard the story prospered, and so did their organizations. And the man was pleased to see what he had learned from the old man was helping the next generation. Several decades later, the man, now happy, prosperous, and respected, had become an old man himself. His children had grown and had families of their own. His wife had become his best friend and closest companion. Although he'd retired from business, the present continued to provide him with an abundance of energy, and he and his wife devoted themselves generously to the other pursuits in the community. One day, a young couple with a little girl moved in down the street. Before long, the family came to visit. The little girl enjoyed listening to the old man, and she came to as she came to call him. It was fun to be with him. There was something special about him. Although she didn't know what it was, he seemed happy, and he made her feel happier and better about herself. Fanny says, "Here we go. This is, you know exactly what's coming." What makes him so special, she wondered. How could someone so old be so happy? One day she asked him. The old man smiled and told her about the present. The little girl jumped up with delight, and as she ran off to play, the old man heard her exclaim, "Wow! I hope someday someone gives me the present." And that's exactly what he said after the old man told him for the first time, not knowing that the present is something that no one gives you, but something that you give to yourself. And that little girl was me, says Fanny. Well, there you go. So you guys have all had this story now, ultimately, and this is why I kind of wanted to read it over the last 4 weeks, because you now know it. You understand. It started off with that little boy in the garden being watched by the old man cutting the grass, and the old man saw the little boy so engrossed in the grass that he was cutting just the patch of grass in front of him. And he was happy. The little boy was happy. He was cutting the grass just in front of him. He wasn't worried about the grass he'd previously cut. He wasn't worried about the grass he was going to cut. He was just engrossed and appreciative and happy in the moment, cutting the grass in front of him. And yet he didn't realize he was in the present at that point. He then grew up out of the present and obviously then went on that whole story to rediscover it again. You have that story now. You can pass it on. Give it to your friends. Give it to your family. Welcome, Luca. First day on Periscope. And I'd love it if you did pass it on. But again, first of all, give yourself the present, okay? And maybe you haven't yet, but it's time. And if you don't give it yourself now, how long are you going to wait for? I know it's not everyone's thing, but meditation helps me be more present and centered. Yeah, absolutely. So for some people, it's meditation. Some people, it's just walking. Some people, it's exercise, anything like that. Deepak and Oprah have a 21-day course starting on the 19th, and it's free. Might be very useful. Deepak Chopra and Oprah, yeah. Check that out, guys. Headspace is a great app if you want to get into meditation. For me, I don't know. I feel meditation isn't something you necessarily have to go and sit in a completely silent room on your own and do. For me, it's almost like quite a meditative state walking to the gym in the morning. I go to the gym very early, about 7:45 in the morning. And that's almost like meditation for me. Running on a Sunday, do a half marathon every Sunday, that's almost like meditation for me. The Calm app, someone Caroline is saying here as well, Calm. Check that out. But yeah, anything that helps you get more present. For some people, it's focusing on their breath. For some people, it's gratitude. For some people, it's focusing on what is right now, like we've said. But just try and spend more time in the present. When you aren't feeling happy and you want to make yourself happier, come back to the present. Okay, learn from the past. Don't let it own you. Own it. Relabel it as a gift. Learn from it. And then create your future. For me, I like seeing other actors doing well. It gives me more motivation. Yeah, that's great. When you can share in other people's success, Sam, it's massive. And when you can share in other people's success, other people want to share their success with you. That's the thing that people don't get. They just don't understand that. They're like, you know what? You tell someone you've got a job, and they're like, and then they don't ring you for a week or whatever because it's made them feel bad. Then you feel almost bad about getting back in touch with them because you don't want to rub their face in it. When they're really happy for you and you feel that you can celebrate it with them, you almost want to get them involved with it. That's how I feel. And I'm all about one up, all up. If I get a gig and I can help someone else get a gig, then that's absolutely what it's all about. So I hope that's been useful. If you want to get the book, buy it. It's only like $6.99 on Amazon. If you watch on the replay, there's a link to it on Amazon just underneath this video. So I've done the job for you. Swansea people are terrible for that, says Caroline. She hates that shit. Yeah, it's bad, isn't it? Jealousy. It doesn't have to be a negative emotion, okay? I tell this to people all the time. Use envy as a compass for what you want. If you see someone who's got something you want, and I know what it feels like, you get that kick in someone, and you go, oh, shit. I love that. It's not a negative thing. We're just taught by society and teachers and parents that it's negative. It's not negative to feel that. It's totally natural, okay? But you've got to respond, not react to it. You've got to respond and use that and go, well, you know what? If I'm feeling like that, that's a compass to tell me that I want that. And thus, if I'm working towards that, I'm on the right path. If I'm working towards something else and I'm still feeling envious of this person, I'm probably working on something that I don't want as much as this other thing. Let's go for this thing. It's how I always know I could never quit on acting. I've told people before that it's something that I like, it's not only what I do. It's not like, it's never going to define me and I'm never going to, only do that. I think life's far richer than just define yourself as one label and one job and one career. I want to experience lots of different things if I can. But whenever I've thought, well, you know what? Could I walk away from it and focus on something else? And then I see somebody else having success in that field, I get that feeling of envy in a positive way, though, of like, oh, wow, that would be great. And then I know, I'm like, no, it's too important to me on an instinctive level. I can't walk away from it. I've got to keep going. And then you're on the right path at that point. So use envy as a compass. It's super powerful, guys, when you do that. So, like I say, I hope it's been useful. For those who have been on the scope for the first time, totally agree with Sam. And Caroline said she's a supportive person as well. Doesn't get jealous. It's amazing. You'll probably still feel pangs of envy, though, because that's like just natural, isn't it? But yeah, as long as you're using it to be destructive. For those who are joining me new on the scope, guys, these are the times we do it. Mondays, 9 p.m. GMT, currently Greenwich Mean Time here in the UK. Motivation and Mind Hacks on a Monday night at 9 p.m. And then Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Book Club, that's tonight. So we're going to be doing a new book next week, and I don't even know what it is yet. So if you've got any suggestions, tweet me at ActOnThisTV. Please share this scope, follow ActOnThisTV on Periscope and on Twitter as well. I put loads of tweets out every day with hopefully useful information for you guys. 99% of it is all free. Like I say, because that is what I feel my purpose is, so I'm not going to bullshit you my purpose and just charge you millions of pounds. There is a premium side of ActOnThis.tv where you get access to even more content. It's £10 a month or £90 for the year, and the money is used, a lot of the revenue that's raised from that goes to charities of the guest's choice to help impact people positively. It doesn't go in my back pocket. I have to spend some of it, obviously, on running the site. But there's a lot of that revenue goes towards charities. So if you're thinking of signing up for a premium membership, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping me to help other people. Would you do books like Power of Now and spiritualized based books? Yeah, I mean, the Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, I've got on my bookshelf behind me, Fanny. I'd definitely do that. I think it's probably, the only thing is it's too complex for an hourly scope. It's a great book if people want to buy it and read it. I'd recommend the audiobook for Power of Now as well. Eckhart's voice is quite hypnotic though, so be careful. You might fall asleep when you're watching it. Not because it's boring, but because he's got such a hypnotic voice. It's so relaxing. So I recommend you listen to it like a chapter at a time. But he's a great guy. He's so calming. He's one of those people who's got one of those voices who you just like, you could be having a crisis of your life and he'd just get on the phone and go, I can't do his voice. I sound like Borat if I was trying to impersonate him. But instantly you just go, oh, I'm all right. Things are going to be okay. I've got a mate called Patrick who's very much like that. Patrick Walker. He's gone into bereavement counselling because he's just like that. He's just like instantly will just calm you with what he says. He's a great guy. But yeah, I hope that's been useful. But yeah, give me some suggestions for books. Tweet me at ActOnThisTV, and I will join you guys again on Monday night. I've also, please get over to iTunes. If you've got an iPhone and that's what you use, or if you can use Stitcher as well. If you just Google Stitcher, it's another I like podcast providing service. I've changed up the way that I promote, and well, not just promote, but the way that I distribute a lot of my content so that people can get access to it just as audio on iTunes. If you search for Act on This TV in the iTunes store, all one word, you'll see something called the Act on This TV audio experience, and it's where you can get replays of these Periscopes, just the audio though, and also just random things. Sometimes I just pick up the phone and I phone somebody in the acting industry, have a chat, I record it, and I put it out on iTunes. I did it with Rob James Collier a couple of days ago. You'll know him as Thomas from Downton Abbey. I'm going to do that a lot more often now. Random things like that I think are just going to help people. It's completely free. Go and subscribe to it. Act on This TV on iTunes. Okay, there's also I do something called 5 to Thrive, which is a little personal development podcast that goes out on like a Friday, Saturday, or a Sunday, normally over the weekend, and they're little like kind of mini periscopes, just audio. But people were saying to me that they were watching these Periscope replays on YouTube, and sometimes they were putting them on in the car and just listening to them, so they weren't watching the video, but the video was eating up all their data allowance on their mobile phone. So I was like, well, you know what, we don't want that. If I put them out on iTunes, you can download them before you leave home, play them, and you won't have to pay any data for them, and you'll just get the audio. So I'm going to do that more and more. Steve said he liked that call. Fanny said, when am I getting her on a call? Fanny, I'll tell you what, it won't be long till you're bloody doing something crazy on TV. I'm sure it won't be, and I'll get the exclusive interview as soon as you do. That'll be amazing. I'll look forward to that. So yeah, iTunes, Act on This TV, all one word, and you'll find it. It's called the Act on This TV audio experience. Okay, iTunes is currently updating stuff on it now, so the graphic might still say 5 to Thrive. Ignore that. That's the old kind of podcast. That was just primarily that podcast, but it's going to be for everything now. I said I'll do an interview with you next 5 years. I'll hold you to that, Fanny. I'm sure you will. You need to find an Android way as well. Well, that would be Stitcher. So Stitcher, if you go, I don't know if it's, let me find out what the actual web address is for Stitcher, because it's just on there as well. Act on, I'm Googling right now, Act on This TV, Stitcher, and you can get the Stitcher app for Android as well. Someone said, Caroline says that sounds kinky. Interested. But yeah, it's basically, let me see here, what's this say? I'm dropping Siri. I've just turned Siri on my phone. Go away. It's just stitcher.com/podcast/Act on This TV. So yeah, just go, it's stitcher.com. So just Google Stitcher Act on This TV, all one word, and you'll find it. And the last thing I put on there is episode 31, Never Give Up, a phone call with Rob James Collier. And that's just the phone call that I had with him the other night. I played it out on Periscope on Monday night, actually. Because that's what I'm doing sometimes. I'll record video through the day, and then I'll play it out on these Periscopes as if it's live, because I can do that. Got the power to do that. So it's awesome. So thank you, particularly to those, well, you know what, just to everybody, not just to those who are new, but to those who have been with me from the start. Some people who are on here tonight have been here from literally episode 1. This is episode 161. Massively appreciate it. Thank you, Julia. And I'll catch up with you guys, yeah, very, very soon. The next thing I'll release will be on iTunes, probably Friday or Saturday. But do come back and join us for the Motivation and Mind Hacks Periscope on Monday night at 9 p.m. Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Fanny. Cheers, Caroline. Do come back. Glad you found us. Cheers, Sam. Thanks everybody who's stuck it out, and thanks Nathan. Thanks to everybody who's watching on the replay as well. Massively appreciate you for getting this far. I know it's been over an hour now, but I appreciate you. And if I can help you with anything, just tweet me at Ross A Grant or at Act on This TV. Come and join the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Act on This TV. And just get yourself on actonthis.tv. That's the main site where I put out loads of interviews. Thank you, Dawn. And Fanny says she loves the long scopes. There you go. Well, you've had one tonight. Thank you so much, guys. I'll catch up with you soon, all right? Get out there tomorrow. Remember, create your future, all right? I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Bye for now.